G'day, Bo from Polyair Springs here today. We've got a new Polyair Red Series kit and a Toyota Landcruiser 200 series. We're going to do a video on a how-to install for the Red Bag series into the coil spring. So we're going to show you what's in the box. We're going to show you step by step the processes that we need to go through to make it all happen and just how simple it actually is to do. So let's get going. Alright, so we've got the new Red Series kit here to suit a Landcruiser, standard height. So we've got your instructions here, your airline, your two red bags, your top plates, some literature on the bags and pressures and installation and maintenance, and your valves and springs and everything ready to go. So it's all pretty straightforward. We'll get going and show you just how easy it is to fit this kit. Okay, so here you can see we've got the car jacked up, placed safely underneath with car stands. We've also got a rubber chock under the front wheel as well to stop any excess movement or anything like that. And now we're able to, once the wheel's off, we're able to lower the axle down a little bit further. I'm going to get in there and get into the spring area and whatnot and install the bag. So we're on a nice, safe, flat surface here. So just want to make sure that everyone that goes to try and do this at home is ready and able to do this job in a safe manner. So stands, chocks, trolley jack, ready to go. Okay, so the next step in the procedure is we're just going to undo this bottom shock mount. And then we'll pop the shock absorber off and be able to lower the suspension down a little bit more, just so we can grab hold of this spring in here and pull it out. There's still a little bit of tension on there, so once we get that out, we should be able to pull the spring out. Okay, so we've removed the bottom mount on the shock absorber. We're just going to undo the two bolts here that hold the sway bar link on into place, just to allow the axle to come down a little bit further, just so we can get this spring in here. She's still a little bit tight. So two bolts here, two 14 mils, drop it down a bit further, pull the coil out. Let's go. Okay, so now we've undone all the components and we've been able to manage to get the spring out. So what we do now is we pull the bounce rubber out and we cut the top of it off altogether, as the airbag will now become the bounce rubber inside the spring. Okay, so we leave the spring seat, we cut off at the top here, and then we're going to drill a 44mm hole, smack bang in the centre here using the existing hole there as your guide. 44mm hole to allow a sufficient slack for the airline to be going up and down and side to side once the vehicle is working and moving. Okay, so cut off, drill the hole, put the airbag in, so we're getting there, nice and easy. Alright, so now we've cut the bounce rubber off the bottom of the spring seat and we've put the 44mm hole in there and just run a bit of a file around the inside just to take the burring and stuff off there. So that's complete. And we've got the airline. So what the next step is, before we get too carried away and bolting everything back in, we want to get the airline and route it out to the back of the car where you want it to be. So in this case, I'm going to route it down the driver's side. So I'm going to run it from the passenger side over, meet up with the driver's side, and then straight out the back, and we'll run it next to the 7-pin terminal for the trailer plug. So we'll get that happening and then go from there. Okay, so we've got some excess airline hanging down here. We've run the airline both left and right, basically where we want it to go, and we'll fine tune that later with some cable ties into place and some split tubing. But what we'll do now is we're just going to run the spring seat back through the middle here, run the top cap of the airbag through there, and also just run the coil spring over the airline on here as well. We'll just let that rest there. Now we're ready to insert the airline into the top of the bag. Once we've done that, we'll be able to place it into the coil spring and put the coil spring back into its place, and that's the next step complete. So. Okay, so we've got the bags installed into the coil and we've replaced the coil back into its home. Pigtail back right in the spot that it needs to be, all in position, ready to rock and roll. So what the idea is now is we just lift the car back up again, slip the shock absorber back over onto its sleeve, put the bolts back in for the sway bar links, and basically do everything back up. And then we're ready to lower the car back down on the ground, obviously after we put the wheels up, and we can finalise the airline. So I've got the airline loosely run into position. It's a matter then of fastening to exactly how you want it to go and run it out the back into the valve. So next step, let's go. Okay, so we've got the bottom shock bolt bolted back in. We've got the 2 bolts bolted back in for the sway bar arm and links. So the whole suspension components now are back to square one. We're back together and bolted together and safe. So the next step was to finalise the routing of the airline. We already had it laid out where we wanted it loosely, so I've gone through and tidied it up, made sure we're not getting in the way of air exhaust and all that sort of stuff, so it's nice and tight and secured, just cable tied on in place, and run around to the back to a little plate here where we've run the 2 airlines, run the air fittings into the back here, made sure we've got left and right round the right way, which is always handy, and we're ready to pump them up and double check everything's gone to plan. Okay, so now the car's back on the ground, the wheels are on, the bags are sitting in there and the car's under its standard load, so to speak. We're just going to pump them up to about 30 PSI each side and just double check for leaks and whatnot, make sure that it's all going to plan. So we go straight up. Alright, we're at about 34 there, that's okay. We'll do the other side. Once again, good guess, 34. Alright, so what I would suggest is just to go around underneath the car back where you've run the airlines, around the seat of the bag and all that sort of stuff, and just make sure that you can't hear or see any noticeable variance in the pressure of the bags as the car's going back down or something like that. You can also use a bottle of soapy water or something and check for bubbles. Otherwise, I would suggest after you've checked that, go back down to say about 10 PSI, let it sit overnight and double check it again and go from there. If it's leaked anything noticeably, well, maybe there is a deficiency in the install. Otherwise, you're ready to rock and roll. Job done. Landcruiser, finished.